Hello, this is Caleb Barney, your local real estate agent in the greater Cleveland, Ohio market. And today I wanted to go over an article from Keeping Current Matters. It's titled Foreclosure Activity is Still Lower Than the Norm. So, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I've seen headlines talking about an increase in foreclosures recently. I've had people ask me about if I think a wave of foreclosures is coming or if I think there's a bubble, stuff like that. And what I want to do is basically put people's minds at ease, or if they're waiting for a bubble, I don't want them waiting forever, the bubble to pop, I should say. I don't want them waiting forever because that's just not what I'm seeing happening. And that's not what I forecast or what any of the experts are forecasting as well. So it says that, remember, these are clickbait titles whenever they're talking about an increase in foreclosures because they don't always give you the full story. Basically, they oftentimes are comparing foreclosure numbers right now I'm recording this January 31st, 2024, but all of our foreclosure data is lagging, basically. So we're looking at data uh, from October, November, basically. And what they're doing is they're comparing our most recent numbers to a time where foreclosures were at historic lows, partially because they took foreclosures off the table in certain parts of the country then as well. So it says 2020 and 2021. Obviously, we were going through COVID then. There was a moratorium for foreclosures, and forbearance was a program that helped people get the option basically to not pay their mortgage for a certain time period then if they were in distress. So it helped millions of homeowners stay in their homes, allowing them to get back on their feet during a very challenging period. And then when the moratorium came to an end, the foreclosure moratorium that is, there was an expected rise in foreclosures, of course. But just because some foreclosure numbers have gone up doesn't mean that the housing market's in trouble. So when you look at today's numbers, 2023, they're basically showing that 357,000 foreclosures in 2022. That is up from 2022, and of course it's up from 2020 and 2021 because again, March of 2020 is when everything shut down. I think it was the third week in March. Everything shut down, or second week, I should say, and then policymakers put into place a moratorium because they really didn't want, another GFC, a global financial crisis, or a great financial crisis, depending on which acronym you're using there. But they didn't want a wave of foreclosures, and neither did all these banks because, those banks had PTSD of having to foreclose on people, of having to get rid of assets on the cheap and really being unprepared to do so. So everybody was working together to minimize those foreclosures in 2020 and especially 2021 once that was fully intact or in place. And, we expected the numbers to go back up. So that being said, foreclosure activity is still only about 60% of pre-pandemic levels. When you look at 2023 versus the years preceding that. So in 2019, for example, there were 493,000 foreclosures. And every year before that, there were more and more and more. So we are trending in the right direction, for 10 years there, with the peak, the worst of it being in 2010, even though the GFC started in, 07, 08, depending on where you're at too. In the country, you may have been affected by it at a different time period. So that being said, we're still seeing very, very healthy numbers here. Unfortunately, it's a part of reality that there will always be foreclosures. Life circumstances are not always kind to people, whether they lose their jobs, whether they lose a loved one, whether they're over leveraged, whatever the case may be, if they picked the wrong mortgage product, basically, if they got something with a balloon payment or they got an ARM, adjustable rate mortgage that they thought they were going to be able to afford, and maybe they lived beyond their means and they can't afford it. So those are certain things that I look at there. But really, and before I end this video, it says bottom line, even though the housing market is experiencing an expected increase or rise in foreclosures, it's nowhere near the crisis levels seen when the housing bubble burst. So the only other thing that I want to point out here is that people who do own houses, of course, if they just bought their house in 2022, or in 2023, and they're already missing payments, those people, yes, they're going to struggle because they don't have equity. But if they've been in a house for 5 years or longer, if they're in a decent area, their home value has gone up probably pretty considerably. And what I wanted to show you here was I just Googled this because I have seen all over the news, and this is something that, as a real estate agent, I can attest to. Basically, homeowners having substantial amounts, record amounts of equity in their home. So it says across the U.S., where was it? Yeah, Americans have almost $30 trillion in home equity. Of course, that's not all evenly distributed, but it says the average mortgage holder now has $185,000 in home equity. That's from Investopedia. CBS News says the average mortgage holder has $199,000 in tappable equity. Bankrate says $274,000 in equity. So basically everybody is saying, okay, you have between $180,000 to $275,000 in equity. If you're starting to miss your monthly mortgage payment because you lost a job and maybe you're house rich but cash poor, meaning you don't have any savings, any reserve funds to basically keep you afloat while you're looking for your next job. If your home is worth $300,000 but your loan balance is only $150,000, don't let that home go into foreclosure, ruin your credit score, and you not win, basically, by selling your house. Don't let the bank take that over. If you have that much equity in the home, yes, it would suck to have to sell it, especially if that's been your home and you've made all of these memories there. I get the emotional attachment, but if you're truly going to lose the property anyways, talk with a real estate agent, talk with investors. You could sell your home quickly. You could list the home, say it's worth $300,000, list it for $275, list it for $250 if you have to get it sold right away, and you're going to have offers. Here in the greater Cleveland and Northeast Ohio market, if a home is priced well, especially if you're in that sweet spot, that 250 to 350K range, which is I like to call it the first big boy, big girl, home, as well. Not including your starter home, your condo, townhouse, stuff like that. But those houses, they sell quickly. Interest rates have been going down since they peaked in late October. So interest rates have gone down over a full percentage point since then. And what that means to you as a seller and a homeowner is that there's just more qualified buyers. More buyers are able to purchase your home at that price point because their interest rates, which dictate their monthly mortgage payments, have gone down then. So that's just my 2 cents. There's a ton of equity in the market, which is why people aren't just going to let their homes be foreclosed on and give it over to the bank for nothing, basically. So if you think that's the case and you're looking to buy, I wouldn't hold my breath. If you are a seller or a homeowner who's in a tough financial situation and you want to talk about your options, feel free to reach out to me. Even if it's not in the greater Cleveland area, I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can. Again, this is Caleb Barney, and have a great day.